Imagine your household budget suddenly doubling, not for a new car or a dream vacation but just for security. Picture sitting at your kitchen table, staring at bills that have ballooned overnight, all because you need to feel safer in an uncertain world. That's the scale of the challenge facing Europe today, as the continent grapples with a rapidly changing global landscape and new threats on its doorstep. NATO has proposed that all member countries spend 5% of their GDP on defense by 2035, a seismic shift from the previous 2% goal. This isn't just a minor adjustment, it's a fundamental reimagining of what Europe prioritizes. This isn't just about more tanks and jets. It's about reshaping Europe's economy, its political debates, and even the daily lives of its citizens. Defense spending on this scale would ripple through every sector. For years, many countries struggled to meet even the 2% target, often sparking heated debates and public protests over where money should go. Now the bar is set much higher, and the pressure is on for governments to find new ways to fund this massive increase. Trillions of dollars would flow into defense, forcing leaders to make tough choices that could impact everything from healthcare and education to infrastructure and pensions. The debate isn't just about military hardware, it's about what societies value most. Should resources go to social programs, or should security take precedence in a world that feels less predictable? The 5% target brings this uncomfortable conversation to the forefront, pitting immediate needs like elder care and education against the promise of long-term safety and stability. Deep divisions are emerging within NATO, with some leaders warning of economic strain and others insisting that security must come first. Behind closed doors, the pressure is mounting. For ordinary Europeans, this means the price of security is about to get very real, affecting everything from grocery bills to public services, and raising tough questions about the future. In this video, we'll break down why NATO is pushing for this dramatic increase, whether Europe can actually afford it, and what's truly at stake for the continent's future, both economically and socially. Let's dive into the trillion-dollar question facing Europe, and explore the choices that will shape the next generation. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was founded in 1949 in the aftermath of World War II, as a direct response to the growing threat posed by the Soviet Union. The devastation of the war left Western Europe vulnerable, and leaders sought a collective defense pact to ensure peace and stability in the region. At its heart lies Article 5, NATO's most important principle. An attack on one member is considered an attack on all. This mutual defense pact has been backed for decades by the overwhelming military power of the United States, making NATO a cornerstone of Western security. Over the years, NATO has grown from its original 12 members to more than 30, stretching from North America to Eastern Europe. But as the alliance expanded, so did disagreements, especially over how much each country should spend on defense. In 2006, NATO members agreed to aim for spending 2% of their GDP on defense. However, most countries consistently fell short of this goal, often choosing to invest in social programs, healthcare, and education instead of military budgets. Today, with rising global tensions and a sense that the world is becoming more dangerous, NATO is now considering a bold new proposal, raising the defense spending target to 5% of GDP by 2035, a dramatic increase that reflects growing security concerns. This ambitious plan signals a widespread belief among leaders that Europe's security environment has fundamentally changed, and that old spending levels are no longer enough to meet new threats. The 5% target isn't official yet, but it's already sparking fierce debate and anxiety across the continent. Many worry about the impact on social services, while others argue it's necessary for Europe's safety. If adopted, this plan would require a massive reordering of national priorities, on a scale not seen since the Cold War era, forcing governments to rethink how they allocate resources. The proposal calls for a steady, long-term increase in defense spending, aiming to build a technologically advanced, self-reliant European military that can respond quickly to any threat. The ultimate goal is to create a force strong enough to deter aggression, even if the United States is unable or unwilling to respond immediately. The big question now is whether Europe is truly ready and financially able to make this historic leap, and what it will mean for the future of the alliance. The jump from 2% to 5% defense spending is enormous. a shift that would reshape the very foundation of European security policy. It's not just a simple increase, it's a transformation that would echo through every aspect of government and society. For years, even reaching 2% was a struggle for countries like Germany, Italy, and Spain. Political debates raged, budgets were stretched, and public opinion was often skeptical about prioritizing military spending over social programs. Now 5% would mean hundreds of billions more each year, fundamentally altering national budgets. This isn't just a line item increase, it would force governments to reconsider everything from healthcare and education to infrastructure and welfare. For Germany, that's an extra $135 billion annually, more than the entire defense budget of the UK or France. This would make Germany one of the world's top military spenders, a dramatic change for a country with a long history of military restraint. Across the EU, this adds up to over $1 trillion in new military spending every year. The scale is staggering, enough to fund massive new defense projects, modernize entire armies, and build a truly independent European military capability. It's not just about buying more equipment, it's about sustaining a much larger force, paying more soldiers, and investing in next-generation technology. European defense industries would need to ramp up production, innovate faster, and compete on a global scale. This would require a complete rethink of public finances and priorities. Politicians would face tough choices and citizens would have to weigh the costs and benefits of a stronger military against other pressing needs. The 2% goal was about sharing the burden. 5% is about strategic autonomy, Europe standing on its own. It signals a desire for independence, to be able to act without always relying on the United States. It reflects a fear that Europe can no longer rely on allies as before. Changing global politics and shifting alliances have made self-reliance a growing priority for European leaders. The leap is from being a partner in security to becoming its own guarantor. Europe would be taking responsibility for its own defense, with all the risks and rewards that entails. It's a fundamental shift in philosophy and responsibility, a reimagining of what it means to be secure in a rapidly changing world. The question remains, can Europe make this leap without breaking the bank, or will the costs prove too high for even the world's largest economies to bear? Why now? The answer starts with Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. A wake-up call that shattered Europe's sense of security. Suddenly, the threat of war on European soil became real, demanding urgent action. At the same time, the US has grown impatient with carrying the bulk of NATO's defense burden, raising doubts about its future commitment. European leaders now fear they can't count on automatic American protection. Beyond Russia, instability in the Middle East, cyber threats, and China's ambitions add to the urgency. The logic: the best way to prevent war is to be strong enough that no one dares attack. A Europe spending 5% of GDP on defense would be a formidable deterrent. The message to adversaries: Europe is united, strong, and ready to defend itself. The window to build this deterrent is closing fast. The cost of inaction, many argue, could be far greater than the price of rearmament. That's why the debate is so urgent and so divisive. The 5% proposal has ignited fierce political battles across Europe. Eastern countries like Poland and the Baltics, feeling most threatened by Russia, are strong supporters. Western and southern nations, facing economic woes and high debt, see the target as unrealistic and potentially destabilizing. Within countries, the debate splits parties and societies. Some demand a stronger military, others fear a return to militarism or loss of social programs. The core conflict: is security worth sacrificing healthcare, education, and pensions? Proponents argue defense is the state's most basic duty. Opponents warn of social unrest and weakened societies. The divide is deep, and consensus is elusive. The political fight isn't just between countries, it's within them. Reaching agreement on 5% will be a monumental challenge. Can Europe afford 5% defense spending? For many, the answer is no. High debt, slow growth, and recent crises have left budgets stretched thin. Raising taxes is politically toxic and risks stalling economies. Cutting social spending would provoke public outrage and instability. Borrowing more could trigger debt crises, especially in already indebted countries. Every option comes with painful trade-offs. Europeans are used to generous social programs. They won't give them up easily. The economic reality funding this increase would require sacrifices few are willing to make. Leaders face a menu of unappealing choices with no easy solution in sight. The cost of security could mean a fundamental change in the European way of life. With 5% looking out of reach, many leaders are seeking smarter alternatives. The focus: spend more efficiently by pooling resources and coordinating defense efforts. Joint European projects like building a single tank model instead of dozens could save billions. The European Defense Fund supports collaborative research, aiming for more capability per euro. Some propose broadening the definition of security to include cyber defense and energy independence. Investments in critical infrastructure could count toward defense targets, reflecting modern threats. Specialization is another idea. Not every country needs a full military. Some could focus on drones, others on logistics. By dividing labor, NATO could become stronger and more efficient. These alternatives won't solve everything, but they offer a pragmatic path forward. The challenge: balancing economic realities with real security needs. If Europe can't meet the 5% target, the consequences could be severe. The US may lose patience, reducing its military presence and questioning its commitment to NATO. This would shake the alliance's foundation and embolden adversaries like Russia. Failing to deliver on promises could signal weakness and division, inviting aggression. Domestically, forced spending increases without public support could fuel political backlash and empower populists. Social unrest and anti-NATO sentiment could rise, fragmenting European unity. But there's another possibility: the challenge could drive innovation and deeper cooperation. Even without hitting 5%, Europe might emerge with a stronger, more autonomous defense. The crisis could become an opportunity for Europe to take real responsibility for its own security. The outcome will shape the continent's future for decades. Europe stands at a crossroads, facing a decision that will define its future. The 5% target is more than a number. It's a symbol of a new era of uncertainty. Supporters say security is the foundation of everything. Opponents warn of economic and social costs. The debate pits bold action against caution, military might against social investment. The outcome will shape NATO, Europe's role in the world, and the lives of millions. One thing is clear: the old way of thinking about defense is over. Europe must choose. Will it pay the price for security or risk the cost of inaction? The trillion-dollar question remains: does Europe have the will and the wallet to secure its future?